Everything set up here. Oh, let me know if my mic goes out. Huh? Yeah, yeah. Out the fix my mic setting. 'Cause like I have. We're getting there. We're getting there. Do like a lower open threshold. Maybe that'll help. All right. If y'all can hear me out there, okay, and if it's not breaking up, um, give me a W in the chat. All one of you, or two. All right. So we're just gonna talk about uh, my Twitter post here that seems to have been getting a lot of traction. Wow, 16,000. Thank you all for checking out the post, and even the ones that lurk and agree quietly. That's cool. I appreciate you, even if you're lurking. Thanks for checking out the post. That I didn't expect that. So this isn't the one that we're going to talk about here today. This isn't the one that blew up, even though that one got 1,000 views itself. This one says, "What do you see here?" Let's talk about it, USA FGC. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about why y'all are so afraid of evasion. But that's not the one we're going to get into here right now. That's not the one we're going to get into. We are going to talk about the one. We'll come back to that one too. He said, "Man, this game is so dry." I say, "Hey, not sure if I remember SNK ever having throw loops in their games, especially since their games have evasion. I don't know. I'm pretty old. This is true. I'm pretty old, and if not, then that's a point for Capcom as the pioneer for throw loops in fighting games. Yep, that's me. Yes, I'm not a Capcom hater. I just want to start by saying that for those of y'all that's probably going to be watching the VOD later, the VOD later. Uh, I just want to clear the air. Even though I'm rocking what I'm rocking, you know what I'm saying. Even though I rock KOF and SNK, you know what I'm saying. I'm not a hater. You know what I'm saying. I'm someone who enjoys fighting games. I'm from the old school, '90s arcade. Right. Let me explain something. Okay. Um, yeah, like I'm 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 really from the old school. Hey, what up, Ralph? I'm straight up from the old school '90s arcade, man. Um, oh, I don't know why it lagged there. That's some good lag. Um, so yo, hey, what up, Razor? Yeah, so this is what I got going on right here. Okay, shout out to the homie Ryan Bomber for hooking me up with the shirt. So let's get back to what we're talking about, though. I know we got some drop frames. Bear with me. I got a lot of memory going on. I have a very small laptop, though. You know what I'm saying? Let me try to clear up some of this memory. Something crazy happened outside when I was talking to my friend on the phone. Oh, really? What happened? Let me get back to my screen here. so we can get back to the topic of discussion. All right. What happened to your friend? All right, so here we go. Let's take a walk down this thread. I don't know why all these ads are coming here. Not yet. Okay. Sorry, I can't afford that. Once upon a time, SNK was the trendsetter responsible for the evolution of fighting games. From Fatal Fury, the first fighting game with lateral movement in 1991. 1991, right? That's before Virtua Fighter 2 in 1994 with Leon and Chun-Li. And then in Virtua Fighter 3 in 1993 with the evade being the dreaded fourth button being added. And that's the only VF with more than 3 buttons. I'm glad we went back to 3 buttons because that's Virtua Fighter, right? It's meant to be simple. And I hope that Virtua Fighter 6 remains 3 buttons as well. We don't need 4 buttons. Why do we need a 4th button? Why, right? Okay, so like I said, once upon a time, SNK was the trendsetter. They started a lot of these new mechanics that we've all come to love that make fighting games feel cool, that make fighting games feel cool and unique from one another. Something happened outside when I was talking to my friend on the phone. Okay. He didn't respond yet. So Virtua Fighter 6, Sega, I hope you're listening. Do not listen to those so-called content creators and consultants, these FGC community consultants that you guys always hire. You guys are hiring the same guys to be consultants for your game and testers for your game that don't even actively participate, let alone care much for your game. You need to stop doing that. Please stop doing that. What do I mean by that? You need to stop listening to people like Justin Wong or Punk, who are mainly known for Street Fighter. No disrespect to those guys. They're cool at what they do, but Street Fighter is Street Fighter, okay? Let those guys be consultants and testers for Street Fighter. Unless you are actively trying to make your game more Street Fighter-like to appeal to an audience that only wants to play Street Fighter. I'm not a MBA guy or anything like that. I can't afford college, but it doesn't sound like a very smart strategy, okay? I'm not here to talk about marketing, all right? I'm broke. You don't want to hear marketing tips from somebody who's broke, right? It's like asking Shaquille O'Neal for free throw tips. So anyway, let's go down this thread. SNK pioneered super moves in fighting games ever since 1992 with Art of Fighting and Fatal Fury 2, while Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, took Capcom a couple years later in 1994 to catch up to SNK's forward thinking and finally adopted it into Street Fighter meta. Other fighting games followed and copied. While Capcom was just catching up to SNK with the addition of super moves in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, SNK was cooking up the first parry in fighting games. Psst. Hey. It's not Street Fighter 3 in 1997. Nope, it's not that one. I know you guys are thinking about that parry stuff. Nope, that's right. It was SNK that was cooking up the first parry in fighting games with Samurai Showdown 2 in 1994. And then in 1996, Killer Instinct 2. Right? And that came out before Evo Moment 37, which ended up being, the FGC marketing gimmick, which they have since run into the ground. Right? I don't know how much longer they can keep it going. But, yeah, it's kind of tired, right? And this is part of the reason why all of the games that have been coming out have all been Street Fighter like, I feel like, because everybody wants to make the game that's like the game that created the big Evo Moment 37 marketing gimmick that draws people to this thing we call the American FGC and things of that nature, right? So moving right along. SNK paved the road for the evolution of fighting games and a lot of system mechanics and gameplay elements that have become industry standard to this day. All of them except, you know, I had to do it for the one time. Evasion. That's right, evasion. But why? That is a question that no one wants to answer. I've asked this question many times over the past few months. Nobody has an answer for that. That is the one question that American FGC has avoided. All right? And you all can see that for yourself. If you scroll up here, if you happen to check out my page, this post has been here since August. Nobody's responded to answer this question about why America is so afraid of evasion. But let's get back to the game. We're going to get there in a moment. We're going to get there. I'm just teasing it, like a good DJ. I'm just, teasing the sample first, while the other song's still on. So then, let's go back here. All right, so moving on from the Evo Moment 37 marketing gimmick, SNK paved the road for the evolution of fighting games and a lot of system mechanics and gameplay elements that have become industry standard to this day, all of them except evasion, right? Nobody has the answer to that question. So what happened to SNK? What happened to you? What happened, SNK? SNK, blink twice if you need help. Blink twice, bruh. You good over there? You good? Are you in danger? Are you under duress? Blink twice if you need help. And then all you got to do is blink twice, and I'll know what to do, okay? Just know I'm here to help. I'm an ally, all right? I'm here to help. Because I don't want to see the thing that I love, just go the wayside, which is King of Fighters. It seems like we've already lost Fatal Fury, right? Because you guys had these Street Fighter guys in your ear while you were developing this game, right? So what happened, SNK? Are you okay? Oh, excuse me. Are you okay? Had to, right? Are you okay? Why are you now kowtowing and walking behind Street Fighter? You're trying to win over Street Fighter and Capcom fanboys again? It didn't work out the last few times you aped Capcom elements and gimmicks. Why do it again? All right? I say this with love. I just need to know why. Why are y'all doing this? Who are you making this game for? Who is Fatal Fury made for? It doesn't feel like this game is made for a Fatal Fury fan. I am a Fatal Fury fan. I am a King of Fighters fan. I am an SNK fan. Okay? While the rest of the country around Chicago, while the rest of the country around the city of Chicago was stuck on Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, we were playing Fatal Fury. We were playing King of Fighters while everybody else was stuck on Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. Yes, I'm a long-time fan. Hey, what up? What up, D? I'm a long-time fan, all right? Let me show you this. See that? That right there, you can't see it because of the green. But this is the King of Fighters Right there. King of Fighters Ultimate History, right there. This is the KOF Bible. Okay. All right. Moving right along. Yeah, yeah. You know, hey, I don't play with this King of Fighters stuff, man. I don't play with this King of Fighters stuff. Right? He said, "Oh, yeah, yeah. It's cool stuff, yeah." Let's go back here. Now, to the window, to the wall. All right. So, again, SNK, it didn't work out the last time that you copied Capcom, so why are you doing it again, okay? SNK, you're at your best when you're being true to yourself. Who are you? Do you remember? Street Fighter fans only want to play Street Fighter. No matter how much you copy from the popular copy, they don't want the original. The American FGC chose Tekken, which is the copy, over Virtua Fighter, the original, for over 20 years, right? All right. Speaking of copies being chosen over the original, once upon a time there was a game by Data East called Karate Champ, which was the first versus fighting game. Karate Champ International Edition in the arcades. Now, of course, the first single-player fighting game with directional inputs was Yi Ar Kung Fu by Konami. Yes, we know that. But the first two-player fighting game, to my knowledge, to my experience, was Karate Champ International Edition. International Edition, excuse me. And then it was Capcom who came along with the copy called Street Fighter, the first Street Fighter game. But they brought in their version of Karate Champ with a twist. This was the time that this was one of the few times that Capcom was innovative in the 2D fighting game space. This is one of the few times where we have special moves and fireballs and superpowers and stuff like that, right? So Karate Champ was the original. It was just point karate, you know, real neutral, real neutral base footsies, right? It had 2 joysticks, you know, all that fun stuff. And then it was Street Fighter that added long range special moves to be able to attack you from safety across the screen. But of course, the FGC doesn't talk very much about the first Street Fighter game, and that's because that game was practically unplayable. It was very hard to perform the special moves consistently. It was pretty buggy, and yeah. So that's why they only talk about Street Fighter 2. All right. So yeah. Data East had Karate Champ. Capcom comes along with Street Fighter, but didn't gain popularity until Street Fighter 2. Data East makes Fighter's History. Capcom sues Data East, wins that lawsuit, sues Data East for copyright infringement, saying that, oh, this game is a direct copy of Street Fighter. This game is a Street Fighter copycat. Now, back in the 90s, being a copycat was no. It was boo-boo. It was not good, right? Same thing with music. Same thing with hip-hop. You couldn't be a hip-hop artist that was respected if you sounded like somebody else, right? That's just the way it was in the 90s. But now here we are, fast forward in 2025, and all the modern fighting games that are being played, you know, in competitions and all that fun stuff, those are all Street Fighter likes. Those are all modern Street Fighter. Those all play like modern Street Fighter. 2 buttons to throw. Throws come out at 5 frames. Oh, you can't do special moves while jumping backwards. Only some characters can do it. Otherwise, you need special moves. That's all Street Fighter stuff. And majority of these modern fighting games have taken after modern Street Fighter. Especially this latest Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves. And let me talk to the Mortal Kombat community with this one. adding, y'all remember what happened when everybody was saying, oh, we want more neutral based footsies. We want more Street Fighter like. We want things to be more like Street Fighter so that they can take us seriously. Y'all remember that episode of Mortal Kombat 11? And y'all remember how y'all felt about Mortal Kombat 11? Y'all say Mortal Kombat 11 was trash. Why? Right? You get it, right? You see where I'm going with this? So Mortal Kombat fans felt it early. And they were vocal that, hey, this slow playing back and forth neutral based footsie stuff, this ain't it. That's Street Fighter. Let Street Fighter be Street Fighter, okay? They saw that was a bad idea. But now they're copying Mortal Kombat 1, and, well, the jury's still out on how the Mortal Kombat community feels about that one. Some people are enjoying it. Others say that that's not real Mortal Kombat, that it's mostly Mortal Kombat, without Marvel characters. Excuse me. Yeah, Marvel versus Capcom without the Marvel characters, right? It's just Mortal Kombat. So yeah, when you inject Street Fighter into everything, you can see you don't always get the best results. However, when we did inject Street Fighter sensibilities into Guilty Gear to create Guilty Gear Strive coming from Guilty Gear Rev 2, it became a smash hit. Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2, right? It became a smash hit. 10,000 people at Evo and bringing everybody out the woodworks, and thousands of people are playing Guilty Gear Strive. It's one of the rare instances where the Street Fighter injection, gave them a makeover, a real boost. And maybe SNK saw that it worked out for Arxis, and they were hoping to capture some of that Street Fighter popularity, lightning in a bottle type magic, right? Well, it's not working here for you, SNK. And I think the reason that it's not working for you is because your role, in case you don't remember, your role in this whole fighting game evolution, your responsibility, along with Sega, your role is that of a pioneer. At least you used to be. Not sure much what's going on right now. But you are supposed to be a pioneer. And when pioneers go to copy a copy, let's remember, Street Fighter itself is a popular copy. Okay? It's a copy of Karate Champ, but with a twist. They have fireballs and superpowers and special moves, and they can fly and even teleport across the screen. And, they can jump a good distance. Yeah, right? So Capcom did bring that to the table. So remember, Capcom itself is a copy. How does America get so enthralled with the copies but ignore the original? Okay? America chose Tekken over Virtua Fighter, which was the original. Now, it's cool to be inspired by and this and that and the third, but when y'all go and actively ignore the two franchises and the series, or the two companies that make the franchises that have all of the fighting game mechanics that you all have come to love, how do you all ignore the creators of those mechanics for so long? Why? Right? We'll get into that. Okay, so Tekken is the copy, Street Fighter is the copy, and you see how America feels about those copies. Meanwhile, the original is sitting there twiddling their thumbs like, man, we was just trying to make something cool. We wanted to progress things. We thought it was a cool idea, but y'all didn't give us a chance. Y'all ran with the copy and just forgot about us. And now the copy's running out of ideas. The copy is running out of ideas because the pioneers ain't pioneering no more. So now the copies have no choice but to copy one another, and this is where they cannibalize themselves. What do you mean? I'm glad you asked. It's even happening to Tekken 8. Tekken 8, where since Tekken 8 was chosen as the quote unquote 3D fighting game of choice by America. That was the 3D fighting game of choice by America, right? All of the other 3D fighting games in that space were ignored. One of them even died. You all let that one die. And I'm talking about Soul Calibur. Y'all let that one die. We get into that one in a moment. Okay? So here it is. We're already seeing a pattern being developed here. America likes copies, not the original. The original is too pure. The original is seen as too boring, right? So Street Fighter 2 from Karate Champ. America chose Street Fighter 2. Karate Champ doesn't exist. Capcom sued Data East for copying. And here we are again where it's okay to copy as long as you're copying Street Fighter or Tekken. It's okay to copy as long as you're copying the copy. I'm gonna let that one pause for a second. It sounds silly. If y'all thinking that sounds ridiculous, I agree. It sounds just as ridiculous as the people who did this. Right? I agree. It does sound ridiculous. So we're running behind copies of the copy. So they don't have any choice at this point, since the copies have become so popular. They don't have any choice but to run off of one another. Tekken 8 is the closest thing to Tekken Cross Street Fighter that we're going to get. We already had Street Fighter Cross Tekken. That was a success. And the Tekken characters performed phenomenally because Tekken, with all sensibilities considered, is pretty much a 2D fighting game. So it worked out perfect, right? Tekken 8 is pretty much Tekken Cross Street Fighter. If you look at the two of the most popular fighting games in America, Tekken 8 and Street Fighter 6. These two are at the tippity top of the iceberg as far as American FGC is concerned for competitive fighting games. So when these are the only two games that you guys pay attention to for over 20 years, let's look at this chart now. Just look at that real quick. I'm not going to dive into this thread. We're going to go back. But if you look at that chart, that orange and that red, the red is Street Fighter, the orange is Tekken. And the blue is all the games that featured evasion in them, such as King of Fighters, Soul Calibur, Virtua Fighter. Now, this graph is from the year 2000 to the year 2024. Okay? And as you can see, it's been nothing but Street Fighter and Tekken all the way through. So when you've ignored all these other games for all these different years, look at how many years they don't play anything else other than Street Fighter-like games, right? Now, that's not to say that other games weren't there, that people will say, oh, but what about the side games, though? Yeah, y'all see how y'all talk about that? Side games, as if these games don't matter, as if these games don't have fans, as if these games don't have specialists that play them at a high competitive level. You guys treat those games as just side games because they're not part of the main games that you guys have put out, put on the pedestal, which is Street Fighter and Tekken. But y'all see that right there, right? So when all you have adopted was Street Fighter and Tekken, these two franchises that are up at the top, there was only one other choice. Since Tekken didn't have anybody to draw from the 3D Pioneer side, and Street Fighter is the only other fighting game left that everybody says they want Street Fighter to be in everything, that part, and especially in a time where people want Street Fighter elements in everything. This is why we have cinematics and all this other stuff in all these fighting games for super moves and all that ever since Street Fighter 4. And that's been a thing ever since. So we've gone, Street Fighter all this time. And now Street Fighter is injected in Tekken 8. And now the Tekken 8 players are crying foul because they're upset about every other move tracking and, all the special effects and the slowdowns and the screen pauses and people not being able to see what's going on because of all the special effects and all the explosions. Oh, by the way, American FGC and all you FGC content creators, you guys asked for this. Y'all said that this was necessary for, good marketing and good marketing appeal and all that stuff. All the buzzword salad and all that bullshit, right? Y'all can edit that part out later. I'm not an editor, but if anybody wants to use this for content, don't trip. I keep it clean, right? So Tekken borrowed Street Fighter elements to make Tekken 8. The Tekken community is tripping out about it. So let's see. Street Fighter injection doesn't work for Mortal Kombat. Street Fighter injection is not socially accepted, I guess, by the Tekken community. But the numbers say otherwise because you guys are still very much actively playing Tekken 8 right now, as a matter of fact. That might be something like an addiction. Like what Tricky Eileen stated when you guys keep going back to doing something that is going to bring you nothing but the opposite of joy, and yet you go and you do it anyway because it's the cool thing to do, and that's the thing that you need to do if you want to be accepted in the FGC. You got to play, the big games like Street Fighter and Tekken and Strive, Mortal Kombat, the popular games, the cool kids games, right? So moving on. SNK, you're at your best when you're being true to yourself. Who are you? Do you remember? Street Fighter fans only want to play Street Fighter no matter how much you copy from the copy, no matter how much you copy from the popular copy, they don't want the original. USA chose Tekken over VF, right? So Virtua Fighter in 1993 was the first. Virtua Fighter in 1993 was the first fighting game with overhead attacks, which are attacks that players must use standing guard to defend against. Later adopted by Capcom in 1994 with Super Street Fighter II Turbo. USA, American FGC loves overhead setups in 50-50 so much, allegedly, but they still ignored VF. Yeah, they ignored VF, even though they started this 50-50 overhead stuff, right? Let me cheat. Why do you think that is? Evasion. Yeah, that's right. Evasion. Even though it had the element, the thing that they love and base all their strategy around the most, overhead setups and 50-50 mix. Because it has evasion, America has avoided it. Okay? Contrary to popular belief, I am not a hater just because I'm challenging your understanding of fighting game history, propaganda, and who brought what to the table. Capcom came out with Throwtech just a few months before Sega dropped Virtua Fighter 2 later that same year in 1994. See? I give props. I give credit where credit is due, right? Sega and SNK were pioneers in a world of arcade copycats cashing out in the 90s. They were the driving forces behind my fighting game interests. They always brought something new to the genre while refining what they had already laid down. I just want to have that feeling again, you know? You walk into an arcade, you see a new fighting game. Oh, cool, you know, and it's more than just prettier graphics or a different art style. They're bringing something different to the table. Like, this has a cool element, a cool gimmick, a parry, evasion, you know, something cool. Something that is doing more than Street Fighter 2, which, if we all remember, is the copy itself. All right? It is the copy. It is the master copy. Okay? Um, yeah, like the games, not only did they get better, refining what it was that they had already laid down. For example, KOF 96 when they first came out, and then you know this is what brought forward the forward evasive roles as they exist now in King of Fighters 15, which King of Fighters 15 is the best King of Fighters out right now. Um, and you can at me, all of you content creators, you can at me on that one. We could sit down, we could talk about it. Yeah, I'm gonna say it one more again. King of Fighters 15 is the best King of Fighters in the series. Let's talk about it. All right, so let me run that back one more again. Sega and SNK were pioneers in a world of arcade copycats cashing out in the 90s. They were the driving forces behind my fighting game interests. They always brought something new to the genre while refining what they had already laid down. I just want to have that feeling again, all right? As an 80s and 90s arcade kid from the west side of Chicago, raised on Sega and SNK fighting games, I grew up on a very forward-first philosophy. And back then, every new title brought new ideas. So to me, it feels like the modern FGC chose regression as the norm instead of evolution. Nerfs, right? I mean, isn't that what the American FGC loves? Like, the scene is dictated by American FGC and American FGC content creators who only play Street Fighter, who majority play Street Fighter only. But for the most part, majority of the USA American FGC content creators are Street Fighter biased. Majority of you guys are Street Fighter biased, or Tekken biased, or both. You can call me, hey, we can sit down and we could talk about it. Even the one who recently went Hollywood, who we thought was all about the growth and the promotion and with the mission of helping SNK return to their former pioneering state. One of the guys that we thought was one of us to see SNK grow and be separate from Capcom and to help prevent this Street Fighter colonization of fighting games and fighting game community. Once he went Hollywood, we lost that player. I won't name him because I ain't gonna step on nobody's toes in the game. That's not what I'm here for. But I'm just saying, as far as us SNK loyalists, us SNK loyal fans, us true Fatal Fury fans, true King of Fighters fans, we are the last thing standing right now in America to help SNK and Sega shine. We are among the last in America. So to my international friends out there, if y'all watching this video, if this video comes across y'all timeline, please help get the word out. Right now, SNK is being colonized by Street Fighter biased consultants, content creators, players, programmers, all of the above. This needs to stop. This is why I started making this content. I'm just an arcade dude, right? I'm not a I'm not a professor, so you're not going to see me using big words and talking about, the differences in psychology and frame data and, all the buzzword salad. I'm not Maximilian Dude. I'm not Juice Box. I'm not Say Jam. I'm not a professor. All right. I'm just an arcade dude, and I'm an FGC observer. I'm not a high level player or anything like that. I'm not a high level player by any means. I have competed in a few tournaments, won a few tournaments, small local joints, whatever, cool. But that ain't about being good right now. It's about preserving what's left of the legacy of SNK and Fatal Fury itself and King of Fighters. Because if this trend continues, this Street Fighter washing of everything, this is the thing that has me worried for King of Fighters 16 when that drops. Yeah, when I saw that leaked clip before the release of Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, of them showing that throw whiff animation, I knew right then and there that it was going to be a Street Fighter coded game, because Fatal Fury has never had 2 button throws before. And this is the first Fatal Fury with 5 buttons? 5 buttons? Whose idea? It had to be one of those Street Fighter guys that was in you guys' ear that was telling you that it was a good idea to add a 5th button. Why? But let's go back here. Let's talk about some more stuff. What else do we got? Because I got a couple other things to talk about on this one.
Damn.
What's up, bro?
Just letting you know, it was a Guilty Gear guy who decided on the 5 buttons.
There's a Guilty Gear guy? Yeah. And see, damn him. Damn him. Send them back to the west side of hell where they came from. 5 buttons? Who decided that? That's not an SNK. That's not what we're here for. That ain't what we're here for. Neo Geo, right? So let's go back down here. Oh yeah, this is talking about that, actually.
Nobunaga's wife is hot. Well,
so this is in response to both recruiters and creators revert to the player's perspective at weekends. Long autumn nights are perfect for enjoying games. SNK's development team is also gathering a gathering of passionate players. Okay, that might be a bad translation, but they tried. Okay, so I said, hey, I would love to explore this someday, but I don't align with conforming to the current Street Fighter bias narrative that's deeply affected the direction of this FGC space. I'm just a guy who grew up in his grandfather's arcade. Excuse me for my roommate, you guys in the background. Please excuse that. You can edit that. I'm going to say this part again. I would love to explore this someday, but I don't align with conforming to the current Street Fighter bias narrative that's deeply affected the direction of this FGC space. I'm just a guy who grew up in his grandfather's arcade that was inspired by SNK's progressive fighting game ideas. Okay? What else do we have here? In response to Natu. Hello, Natu. Shout out to Natu. Tuning in from Japan. Natu says, actually, the thing is, I've been studying by watching tweets and streams from various Street Fighter 6 players, but I find this incredibly hard to say. Frame? Everyone just casually mentions things like, it's X frames, so do this. But I don't really get it. Ugh. Are they all just too clever? Are they all just too smart? Well, Natu, thank you for commenting on that. I'm going to give you a bit of an insider tip about how the American FGC works as far as content creation and what you've been exposed to. All right, so here's the secret. American FGC, particularly the Street Fighter players and content creators, started this trend of sounding like a galaxy brain matrix genius, posing as someone with extensive fighting game expertise to hide their lack of fighting game literacy. We've got the best buzzword salad, though. All right? He says, Soul Calibur died when VF went with Dreamcast. Wait. What? Soul Calibur died when Virtua Fighter went with Dreamcast. But we want inclusivity. Right. I'm going to need that quarter circle 1-4 character. I know, right? Soul Calibur died when Virtua Fighter went with Dreamcast. Well, Soul Calibur on Dreamcast. Soul Calibur was actually on Dreamcast. It was Soul Calibur 2. And that version of Soul Calibur was actually better than the arcade version. It looked better than the arcade version. It was faster, smoother, 60 frames a second. And that was Soul Calibur 2 on Dreamcast. And then also Virtua Fighter, when that dropped on Dreamcast, that was Virtua Fighter 3 Team Battle. And then on PS2, Virtua Fighter 4. He says, I'm saying people dropped them both when you're talking about Tekken in them. Oh, right. Yeah, right. I hear you. Yep, I got you now. Yep. Yeah, so once again, the American FGC, particularly the Street Fighter players and content creators, started this trend of sounding like galaxy brain matrix geniuses, posing as someone with extensive fighting game expertise to hide their lack of fighting game literacy. We've got the best buzzword salad. And she says, oh, really? Is that so? I said, oh, absolutely. How often do you hear talks of neutral, spacing, neutral skip, whiff punish, frame trap, respecting the neutral, mind games, making strong reads, reactions, decision-making in neutral, option select, optimal damage, resets, accessibility? Yeah, unfortunately, not to. It is true, not to. Yes, it's true. That's how they speak. It's a scam. They're not smart. They'll throw numbers at you, numbers and a whole bunch of buzzwords real fast, and overwhelm you and make themselves sound like they're freaking experts, right? I play Street Fighter 6 every day, so I post whenever something occurs to me. I dig it, right? So yeah, no,
Be extremely careful of who you trust. He's talking about fucking Nobunaga. Nobunaga, a true bitch, bro.
the American FGC and its content creators, a lot of them are absolutely posers. Okay? They are posers. They are faking the funk. And they can't even dunk. Okay? Hold on. There was something else here. What else? Okay. In response to Akichi. Shout out to Akichi 1994. Personally, I'm rather fond of the ending story for the Three Sacred Treasures team in KOF 97. Kyo, Fate Unknown, Iori missing, Chizuru missing, and when I first heard of this setting, I couldn't help but write to director Tanabe, no way. That's just phrased differently. It's the same thing, isn't it? But then, who would have thought Kyo would multiply in 2000? He's referring to the clones and stuff in the Nest saga. So I say, hey, check it out. KOF 97, King of Fighters 97, was the second game I ever imported on Sega Saturn back in the 90s. I would really love to see SNK remember the vigor they had when they were developing the Orochi saga, King of Fighters story, and the new gameplay mechanics each entry. SNK, are you okay? Are you okay? Yeah, let's get back to that, SNK. Can you get back to that, please? All right. I just want to see you win again, you know? Be yourself. Be yourself. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, this one is in response to one by Tools of the Week. All right, and he said, if you bought Fatal Fury during a 60% sale, blah, 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 blah. All right, so this is me responding to this post, promoting this sale, coming from another SNK guy, allegedly. We need more stages. Like, what we need is more stages available for two-lane battle, the way Fatal Fury was meant to be played. Ranked two-lane battle. Ranked seasons featuring full resets of leaderboards and ranks to preserved ranked match ecosystem of smaller player bases, just like the way UFC 5 does, which is not a fighting game, even though it is fighting game adjacent. But yes, I'm going to run that one more time. We need more stages available for two-lane battle, the way Fatal Fury was meant to be played. We need ranked two-lane battle. We need ranked seasons featuring full resets of leaderboards and ranks to preserve ranked match ecosystem of smaller player bases. Just like UFC 5, right? Imagine what it would do for games like King of Fighters 15 or City of the Wolves, or insert any other game that doesn't have 30,000 players on at any time of the day, right? Oh, and also we definitely need to buff the damage. What are you doing? SPG giving you a defense buff? What are you doing? That's not you. Buff the damage. Seriously, okay? Also, we need two-lane battle available for every box in player lobbies. This will add a more welcoming social environment for players to be able to play in another player slot instead of restricted to spectator in a winner stays, loser rotates, king of the hill setting, which makes waiting discouraging. People just want to get in there and mix it up, you know? So again, we need two-lane battle available for every box in player lobbies. This will add a more welcoming social environment for players to be able to play in another player slot instead of being restricted to spectator in a winner stays, loser rotates, king of the hill setting, which makes waiting discouraging. Okay? Yes, we need that. We definitely need that. Hey, and look, even this guy, shout out to Kevin Heatstroke, by the way, says we need to reset ranks every month with new season and stuff to earn so people can get rewarded for the effort and keep grinding. I don't know if everyone is agreeing with this. This is a great idea. And they also need to add new skins to the characters based on the season. Okay, yeah, I hear you. Right, exactly. But yes, we need to reset the ranks every so often, every month, whatever. Yes, reset those ranks, okay? The Seppi Swag says, remember everyone, this is what it's all about. SNK community, our community. Don't ever let yourself be bothered by folks that only ever appear when it's convenient to them. That's true. That's true. That's legit. Now, there was one in here I wanted to dive into, actually. Hang on, let's see here. There was another one I wanted to dive into. I'm going to try to find it here. Nope, that ain't it. Ah, this one. Okay, and this one was in response to Umi the Penguin, a.k.a. Mince. Umi the Penguin says, Andy and Joe have surprised me how much fun they could reinvent them to Garo gameplay, but nothing has turned me off from characters than the Street Fighter's dash. I think what they mean to say is nothing has turned me off more from these characters than the Street Fighter dash. And my response was they both should have been runners because the roster right now as it stands, the roster is a very large majority dasher biased. Made to be more palatable so that Street Fighter fans don't get overwhelmed. They are the apparent intended target audience, not longtime SNK Fatal Fury fans and SNK supporters. Yeah, once again, Andy and Joe, they both should have been runners because the roster is now a very large majority dasher biased, right? And this is made to be more palatable so that the Street Fighter fans don't get overwhelmed. They are the apparent intended target, the apparent intended target audience, and not longtime SNK Fatal Fury fans, unfortunately, like myself, and SNK supporters. Okay? And we have a reply from Big Cat that says, Street Fighter characters don't run, though. Sure. Rashid does in Street Fighter 5 and 6. But I think the original post was talking about Andy Bogard and Joe Higashi in Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, all right? So let's go down here to this other one. I disagree on some level. This is the one I wanted to tap into. And this is the one that's going to be a great example for my friend Natu, if you are watching this still. For my friend Natu in Japan, I hope you see this, because you're about to see this this fake science that I was telling you about. This is how we do in America. Are you ready? Well, I disagree on some level. City of the Wolves definitely is trying to broaden its audience, but SNK was on dashing from the get-go. Both Art of Fighting and Samurai Showdown featured these things. I don't believe either is bad. The main thing that running took away was the nasty KOF hyper hot mix. Okay. And then he says, I think if City of the Wolves were to add running, they need to scale down the damage a lot. What? 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 Hold on. That's okay. Yeah, that's the part that I missed. He says they need to scale down the damage a lot. If they add running, they need to scale down the damage a lot. City of the Wolves is a high damage game. What? What?
I heard that shit through my headset.
What?
High damage game.
High damage game?
Where the fuck?
That's what y'all... Where?
Right. They don't know what high damage is.
High damage game?
Yeah,
Sir.
They have no clue what high damage is.
Sir.
Sir.
That's some what? All right. So he says... So City of the Wolves is a high damage game. And adding complex hot mix... Ooh. Complex. There's one. Adding complex hot mix that could convert into massive damage. Oh, there's that optimal damage again.
Damn.
Would be cool, but unhealthy for balance, at least in its current state. Even King of Fighters 15, they had to nerf damage. Did they really nerf damage? Because I got a lot of TOD combos with a lot of characters. So, not... Okay. That's,
KOF also allows more freedom overall than City of the Wolves. So,
Totally.
Yeah.
So my response here, I say, well, the damage in City of the Wolves is absurdly low. It already has hot mix, but there's no massive damage to be had from it without the original damage boost in SPG, which was formerly known as the top gauge from the previous game. And now with needlessly extreme levels of damage scaling mixed in with unnecessary SPG defense buffs.
Yeah.
Okay. And he says the main thing that not adding running. The main thing that not adding, I think that was supposed to be a correction. Okay. All right, so let's see where he's going here. All right. So then he goes, absurdly low. I don't think we've been playing the same City of the Wolves. And again, this goes back to my point where we come from two different schools of thought. The modern era thinks that characters having 30 and 40 and 50% damage is big. Yeah. All right? So then this guy says, all right, I've seen 2 posts from this guy. Hey, I appreciate you looking and checking it out. 2 posts from this guy, and in both he said something so completely untrue that makes it seem like he's never played the games that he's discussing. Here we go. That's the one right here. Here's that. You ready not to? Are you ready for science and math?
Oh, shit.
Here we go right here. This is how we do in America. So everyone in City of the Wolves can do a 40% off a B&B without any supers and 50% with 1 super. Listen to all these percentages. I mean, I feel like I'm at a bank sitting down for a loan getting ready to go to the car lot. You know what I'm saying? Can do 50% off of a B&B without any supers. Or 40% off of B&B without any supers, and 50 with 1 super. And everybody has 70% combos, with many characters having 80% combos. Maybe he's just one of those guys who are too poor to buy video games, so he just role plays.
Hell no. Yeah, that sounds like America.
That's America. When they don't have anything to add to the conversation, and they realize that they are punching above their weight class, we go with numbers, buzzwords, and insults. Numbers, buzzwords, and insults when up against someone who clearly has way more fighting game experience and knowledge and literacy than they do. Also, several characters in the game can run. Have you guys played the game at all? Okay. So I respond to that question. He says several characters in the game can run. Have you guys played the game at all? Let's go back to the original post, which was talking about how Andy and Joe, he wishes they could be runners. They both should. We're talking about these people who should have been running characters because the majority of the roster is Dasher biased. Let's read this part right here so we make sure we're on the same page. That's where the punchline comes in at. They both should have been runners because the roster is now a very large majority Dasher biased. And then we go back down here to also several characters in the game can run. Have you guys played the game at all? See, this is how American FGC discusses fighting games. When we run into somebody that presents us with a thought that challenges the things that we thought that we knew about fighting games, because the Barnum effect and Dunning-Kruger effect are very closely related to one another. The Barnum effect and the Dunning-Kruger effect are very closely related to one another. All right, y'all can quote that. So he asked me a question. Have you guys played the game at all? After saying several characters in the game can run. So now I need to ask you, tools of the week. Have we played the game at all? Yes, I've played the game. Now let me ask you, did you actually read the words that were being said before you picked out a keyword, a buzzword, because I know how you American FGC guys love to hop on buzzwords. Did you just pick out a buzzword and you just hopped on it so that you can disagree, or did you actually read to absorb and understand the information that was in that post before you said several characters in the game can run. Yes, we know that, sir. We know that. That's why we know that. I said majority, which means most of, not all. Most of the characters in the game are dashers. Okay? So then I asked him another question. How long have you been playing fighting games, and which was your first fighting game? And I asked him this because I am aware that modern Street Fighter players seem to be used to low damage and death by 1,000 paper cuts types of games ever since 2009. These games were made popular, but these types of games were made popular by the original Blaze Blue and Street Fighter 4, where it took hundreds of hits to get the job done. Low damage, death by 1,000 paper cuts types of games. You know, with low damage, big damage scaling, you gotta work for resets in order to get damage. So I asked him, how long have you been playing fighting games, and which was your first fighting game? Have you ever played a Fatal Fury game not called Garo? And then I reposted the link so that, he could see the original. Right? What's going on here? He says, is this an ad? Yeah, that's an ad. Yeah, that's an ad. Working together. Okay. Low damage? Well, what the hell is high damage to you? Footsies? So, like I said, modern Street Fighter players, people in the modern fighting game era, are used to playing games with low damage, where you have to work really hard just to peel your opponent for 20% or more. Right? So, again, that's why I told him, I said, maybe you misunderstood the question. Is it not my question to answer? Oh. Okay, so I'm glad we understand each other now. That's the first time I've seen that. That was new right there. It's not my question to answer. So why is it that I found 3 questions that the American FGC does not like to answer, especially the ones who pretend to be college professors? Just so you see this, not to, okay? You see all these percentages and all the buzzwords and everything, right? But he can't answer. He has all the answers to these equations and math problems and everything and all these percentages, but he can't answer a simple question of how long have you been playing fighting games and which was your first fighting game? Why is that one so hard? Have you ever played a Fatal Fury game not called Garo? Yes. Sit down, murder hobo. Sit down, son. Grown folks are talking. Get you some of this education about this fighting game history. You seem to have been misled. It's okay. You can have a seat. Right, but this is what we're talking about, not to. All right? This is what we're talking about. When they realize that they are up against someone with real extensive fighting game knowledge and history and understanding, this is what they revert to. They revert to numbers, buzzwords, memes, and insults. And you've all seen that for yourselves in real time. This is how the American FGC works. If we're not, putting up numbers and making, numbers with big buzzwords and combo videos and, frame trap explanations and discussions and all that stuff, we don't know anything else about fighting games, which is why we don't play fighting games with evasion in them, because all that frame trap stuff and set play stuff that they work out and the flow charts and everything, that stuff doesn't work very well when evasion is part of the equation. You like that math? Evasion is part of the equation. You know, we like math and numbers and shit, right? Yeah. All right, let's go back. What else we got to look at to discuss? But yeah, when you shut them down with knowledge, they back down. They don't have anything to say. So when you ask them, how long have you been playing fighting games? What was your first fighting game? Have you ever played a Fatal Fury game not called Garou? And why do you avoid fighting games that have evasion in them? Those are the questions that American FGC players and content creators will avoid and try to logically explain and justify and edify the bullshit. I'm glad to be able to share some of the inner workings of USA FGC and their mindsets with you all. Thank you all for tuning in. Let's see if we have any more to look at here before we go. Again, 16,000 looks on this. Thank you all for this. Again, this is that question that people don't. Should we talk about this right here? Should we talk about that in this video? Or should we keep it short? I think I'm going to keep this one short. Yeah, I'm going to keep this one short, upload this one, and then we can come back and we can talk about this one. But just to give you all a sneak peek, what do you see here? Let's talk about it, American FGC. Let's talk about why y'all are so afraid of evasion. Let me pull up this chart here so y'all can get a good look at it. And, of course, you can see that right there on the side. I'll wait. Nobody has been able to answer this question since August of 2025. And it's gotten over 1,000 eyes. And nobody has been able to answer this question. As you can see, let's take a look at what we have. These are the games in the main lineup. This is Evo USA. Evo USA main lineup. Everything from the year 2000, when it was Battle by the Bay and all that stuff. And it's showing Tekken and Street Fighter versus evasion heavy games. So in the blue has all the evasion heavy games, such as Virtua Fighter, Soul Calibur, King of Fighters, Fatal Fury, 2-Lane, whatever, right? And then the red is Street Fighter, and this orange is Tekken. And y'all can see that graph right there for yourself. There was non-stop Street Fighter and Tekken, even though there were huge player drop-offs from one year to the next, we still kept Street Fighter and Tekken every year. Mainly because, those are the games that, those two games are the ones that Americans swear by, because when they start playing these evasion games, Virtua Fighter, Soul Calibur, which is now dead, that ain't never coming back. I hope it does, but it doesn't seem likely if, the influence of the American FGC content creators have anything to say about it. And then we got King of Fighters and Fatal Fury, 2-Lane, whatever, right? Look at this. Look at those gaps. Okay? That's what we're going to talk about on the next video. Yeah, I'll wait. Hey, I've been waiting. So let's give a quick preview. In Street Fighter and Tekken 8, it's more about movement and spacing and reads. Yeah, it's more about movement, spacing, and reads. What I'm talking about are games where evasion is baked into the system and not just a side effect or a gimmick. That's why Street Fighter and Tekken stay on the main stage, while Virtua Fighter, King of Fighters, Soul Calibur, and Fatal Fury pop in and out. Popularity does not explain why Street Fighter and Tekken stayed on the main stage even when their numbers dipped, which we just talked about. Virtua Fighter, KOF, Soul Calibur never got the same loyalty or the preservationist treatment and nonstop glazing for nothing. That's clearly preference and not popularity. There's nothing to do with popularity. Like I said, they were there every year. I'm gonna do one more. I'm gonna do these last two, and then I'll end the stream. The American FGC lags 10 to 20 years behind international competition because it avoids games and mechanics built around system-level evasion, like King of Fighters, Virtua Fighter, Soul Calibur, and City of the Wolves and Tulane, right? And instead clings to the simpler but limited movement in comfort zone titles like Street Fighter and Tekken, while Japan, Korea, China, and Latin America, shout out to my South American, Latin American fam out there, have normalized these mechanics decades ago. The American FGC culture deflects to proving skill in familiar games instead of evolving their fighting game literacy. That cultural gap, not raw talent, is why the American FGC meta stays behind. Okay, let that sink in. We stick to these comfort zone games of Street Fighter and Tekken. And this is not a matter of opinion. This is not a matter of opinion. I have the stats available right here on this screen for you to see. Google is your friend. Liquipedia is your friend. You don't have to take my word for it. It's not about me being right. Right now, I'm trying to get you all to pay attention to and see some things that you all may not have known has been going on under the hood. And these are the very things that have gotten me banned from my local FGC and the official Fatal Fury Discord. But that's beside the point. Because I am not afraid to call it down the middle. I am not going to conform to American FGC's standard of Street Fighter first, of Tekken first. I am an SNK fan. I am a Fatal Fury fan. I am a King of Fighters fan. I am all things SNK. I am from the city of Chicago, also known as the City of the Go. Smack dab in the middle of the country. Chicago is the capital of the Midwest. We have the most diverse fighting game players in this nation. At me, right? We have the most diverse. I said diverse. I didn't say we had the winningness, the most Evo champions. No, I said we have the most diverse in the country. Pay more attention, right? Which is why we're able to play Fatal Fury the way it's meant to be played, 2 lanes. Which is why we play King of Fighters, right? In Chicago, we was playing it, but it seems like the rest of the country around us, outside, except for Ohio. Shout out to Ohio. Shout out to Ohio and them. All right. Chicago and Ohio. Everybody else seemed to be playing this whole imaginary standstill of this imaginary style of standstill called playing neutral. And that was popular in these Street Fighter titles where there's no evasion. Oh, and before I go, I just want to show you all one more thing. He says, hey, I just came across your stream, and I would like to be your viewer and subscribe. Add me on Discord. Jack Larso. Hello, Tall Wall Zero. How are you, buddy? Don't have a Discord right now, but I will. You can follow me in the meantime on this Twitch. Hang on, there's one more thing I'd like to show you guys before we go. Be right back, hold on. Shit. Jack Larso. All right, I just want to show you guys this before we go. Got my camera, got to get into focus here. Show you all this thing real quick. Just so you all know, I'm all about this SNK action, okay? I want you all to see this right here. Yeah, get a good look at that. What that say? Read it. It says, Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, 2-lane champion. Right? 2-lane champion. Okay? Yeah, this is real. This is a real belt. Yeah, I won this at our local 2-lane tournament, which had more entrants than the single-lane tournament, by the way. And the winners from that single-lane tournament, they didn't want no smoke in the 2-lane tournament. Ha! Imagine that. That's how I got this right here. And that's part of the thing that led to me being banned from our locals here. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you all. Yeah, I'm all about SNK. I'm all about Fatal Fury. I am a real Fatal Fury fan. Yes, we exist. We totally exist. We outside, right? We outside, right? I thank you all for checking out the video. If you all are checking this out via video on demand, hey, hit me with a like, a follow, comment, hey, something. Hey, if you got any questions, anything you want to ask me. Hey, I'm not a pro player. I compete in tournaments on occasion, and I show up to events, and I spread the gospel. I spread the knowledge of SNK and its history, right? I am known as the SNK guy in my circle, okay? All right? Known as the SNK guy in my circle. So while everybody else in the country was stuck on Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, me and my crew from Chicago now, we was already ahead of the game. We were already playing Fatal Fury and King of Fighters before everybody else figured out what it was, okay? That's all I want to share with you all. I'm just an arcade dude from the 90s, and I feel like I'm lost because everybody else doesn't understand my language. Y'all speak Street Fighter. Y'all speak Street Fighter. I speak Fatal Fury. I met Terry Bogard long time ago. Fatal Fury was the only reason that I got into anime culture at all. Because Fatal Fury. All right? Terry Bogard, that's me and him go way back like passenger side seats, okay? Yeah, we used to drink some good whiskey and eat Philly cheesesteaks together, He likes pizza too. He likes pizza. But yeah, all right. I am Fame Douglas. F. Doug, Uncle Fame, all of the above. The most known you ain't never heard of. I'll catch y'all on the next stream. Catch y'all on the next video. And if anybody, wants to have a discussion about some of the things that we talked about, hit me up on the Twitter. I'm not good enough to have, Twitter links and stuff, all that stuff yet. I'm still learning this content creation stuff. Like I said, I'm just an old dude from the arcades, and I feel lost because I'm looking around and I see that everything and everybody is just copying and just all about Street Fighter. Yeah, so the thrill is kind of gone for me. All right, y'all. I see y'all on the next one. But in the meantime, between time, make sure y'all play y'all some more King of Fighters 15. It's the best King of Fighters to date. And we need ranked 2-lane for City of the Wolves and more 2-lane stages for City of the Wolves. We need this. Oh, and not only that, we also need ranked resets. Ranked resets, monthly, bi-monthly. I don't care how you do it, but we need to have full ranked and leaderboard resets. From the leaderboards to the characters, top down, start over. And that'll keep your player pool alive. All right, once again, Fame Douglas, F. Doug, Uncle Fame, all of the above. The most known you ain't never heard of. I see y'all at the next tournament. Peace.